It's definitely not good news, and it has been one of the factors that has weighed on Aussie for the last 2 months. But not as much, I think, as many people believe. Every day we get the new caseload statistics from across the country, and there's very, very little Aussie response to those numbers, shocking as they are. And that's a clue, I think, that there's a lot more going on for Aussie than just a domestic COVID picture. And again, it takes us back to the broad-based US dollar story. If you think back to June, that was when the Aussie's descent really got underway. And it was immediately after the FOMC decision in June when we suddenly had that hawkish shift from the FOMC. That's been the primary driver of Aussie weakness so far. On top of that, we've had commodity prices as well slipping too. So I would put COVID probably in number 3 position in terms of its ability to influence Aussie.
How much more hawkishness are we going to get out of the BOE? As of course, the UK, the big social experiment with what it's doing in terms of reopening and COVID. But if we do see a good economic result as a result of that, how much could the GBP get a little lift under its wings?
Yeah, it's one of the few currencies actually that we're bullish against the US dollar for the next 6 months, and for all the reasons you mentioned there, Mandy. A major experiment is underway, but as of today, the statistics are extraordinarily encouraging. A huge increase in the caseload, but has not been accompanied by a big increase in hospitalizations or fatalities. So that's got to be good news as far as the wider economy is concerned. And if the economy is doing well, then the Bank of England can afford to sound a little bit more constructive. In fact, we saw them last week slip into an explicit tightening bias, which is quite extraordinary. And we should see more of that over the next few months as the COVID story continues to settle down. Now, there is going to be an interesting moment towards the end of September where we're going to see some of the UK government support measures fall away. And I think once we can navigate around that obstacle, and if the economy continues to expand and to recover beyond that, then I think we could well see an early move from the Bank of England sometime late next year. Having said all that, we already know that QE is destined for the rubbish bin. It's going to end this year, in fact, probably in December, and that alone should be enough, I think, to put some distance between the Bank of England and other central banks around the world.
We're going to need a really big rubbish bin globally, aren't we, for all that QE eventually? So where will that take the sterling against the US dollar? It's currently sitting around the 138.66 mark.
Yeah, so up to 140, we think, maybe even 141, which is quite an achievement given we're also expecting some broad-based US dollar strength into year end. The other way to look at sterling, of course, is against the euro. So we think euro sterling would slip down to 84 and maybe even briefly touch 83 pence, which is a very significant long-term support. So lots of sterling strength, I would say, and broad-based strength at that, and again largely on the COVID story, which is encouraging the Bank of England to sound more optimistic and constructive.